Hey guys, it's Matt here from Narrative Hub, and I just want to welcome you all to the podcast slash TV show that we're doing now. So I haven't really settled on a name yet. I did mention a name that we should use before, but my assistant here, Christina, thought it was terrible, so I won't tell you guys what it is. Open to some suggestions at this point, but I want to thank you guys for joining, whether you're on the podcast or you're viewing it online, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. So this podcast that we're doing, this show, is all about storytelling. So in our business, we help people in telling their story of their businesses and their brands and things like that, because we believe they can be powerful. And I think that just resonates in any sort of area of life. And so I like to get interesting people that have got a story to tell to come on my show and talk about that. So I want to thank Odell Harris for coming on the show today. Thanks, mate. Good to have you. Cool. So Odell has a podcast as well called Against All Odds. So he's far more experienced at this than I am. So thanks for coming on and telling your story, mate.
Thanks, Matty. How are you, man?
Good, man. Good to have you on.
Thanks for having me. My show is called Against All Odds. That's ODZ. It can be found on iTunes or your podcast player. It's face-to-face conversations with people who inspire. So it's not celebrities so much. It's just people, and they tell their stories. Some have overcome adversity, some haven't. There's, for instance, this episode with a mate of mine, Ryan Scott, 4-time Paralympian, 2-time gold medalist. There's another person, Anthony Jacob, who broke his neck at jiu-jitsu training. He had it fused, and he just tells his story of his coming back. There's another guy, Shark Tank. That's what I call him. He's a sharky. He's spent 30 weeks involuntary institutionalised with bipolar. And he tells about how he sort of overcome that, and now he works with Brisbane youth in placing them in homes and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, the show's sort of taken on a mental health lean, which I know you wanted to touch on today.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying before that it didn't really start out like that, but it just kind of worked its way.
It didn't really.
Yeah.
It just started out as me wanting to share these guys' stories because I found them myself personally inspirational, and I thought, more people should be aware of these stories, mm-hmm. and hopefully they would take some learnings from them. Mm-hmm. I've found, I've always learned by emulating people or, especially successful people, seeing what they've done successfully or what they haven't done and avoiding what they haven't done, and replicating what they have done. Yeah. So hopefully people can take learnings from these stories and basically they just sit down and tell me a bit about what happened.
Yeah. No, that's great, and that resonates with me a lot because I think that stories can be very powerful.
Yeah.
It's good to know the path that people have travelled and who they are, what they've done, where they've come from, and like you said, either go, yep, I want to be like this, so I'm going to do these things, or I could probably save myself some heartache by not going through that. So, you said it's taken a bit of a mental health spin, and I know that you talk quite openly and honestly on that platform, whether you're interviewing people and in the episode where you actually got interviewed and talk about yourself. Have you always been someone that's been fairly open, or is
No, I haven't, Matty. No, not at all.
No.
So a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have spoken to you probably in any circles really, but my job's helped me come out of my shell a little bit and communicate with people a bit more. My partner's definitely helped me communicate with people and come out of my shell a lot more. And just growing up, I think, not growing old, but growing up, getting more wisdom and being around people makes me communicate a bit more. So no, I wouldn't have had these conversations with you or for instance, my best mate, a couple of years ago when I used to drink, we were out one night and he introduced me to his circle of friends, or a circle of friends that he had. Next day we were catching up hungover and whatever. And he said, whoever it was that he introduced me to asked me if you wanted to bash him. And no. And it was a bit of a funny thing with his mates, because he'd said to him, "Nah, man, like he won't want to bash you. Just give him some space. He won't even know your name for the first month. If you come around, if you're continually around, he'll learn your name.
Mm-hmm.
3 months, he might have a conversation with you, and in about a year's time, if you're still kicking around, he'll maybe take you for some food or something."
Yeah. And like, did you talk to that guy at all that night, or just like, he's not talking to me, so he's standoffish?
Yeah, it wasn't him being standoffish. It was just me.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I would just say, "G'day, how's it going?"
Yep.
And then not engage in any conversation, because I wasn't interested really.
Yeah.
I'm pretty short with my time, or have been in the past.
Yeah.
Short, and particularly with who I spend my time with. Yeah. I'm a lot better now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk to people like me now?
No. Not at all, mate.
All good. No, it's good, man. It's great that you share really sort of openly there. What have you learnt from the podcast or interviewing all these different people? What are some of the key takings that you've found?
You never know what's going on with someone.
That's fair.
That's one of the key learnings. Also that everyone has something they're doing inspirational, whether you recognise it or not. And I don't think enough people get credit for it. Turning up to a mundane job, 9 to 5, but putting in your work and achieving things, and raising a family, supporting kids and bringing them through school, and being the best father you can be, or even just doing all that other stuff. That's inspirational to people.
Yep.
That is a commitment, and that's something you deserve recognition for. You obviously don't deserve a billboard or anything like that, but it's something you should feel proud about. That you're doing. So one of the learnings was everyone's got something going on.
Yeah.
I guess it's, as you said, it took a bit of a mental health lean, and especially when the guys I was talking to and the girls I was talking to were mentioning that they had depression, or they'd suffered depression, or they'd suffered anxiety or bipolar, and all these sorts of things that 8 years ago I didn't know what were. And these are things that I used to think only the weak suffered from. You're a pussy if you cried, you're a pussy, right? If you had emotion around something, you're a pussy.
Yep.
This is in my book. That's obviously changed a lot, and I think a lot of it changes when you have kids. But yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yeah,
I don't feel that way anymore. And in episode 10, I talk about my experience with having being diagnosed with anxiety. Now, I don't suffer too much anymore. I haven't had an anxiety attack for nearly 2 years. There's been little bits of one, but not a full-blown, I'm going to freaking die and then turn around and tear someone's head off sort of attack.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've learned to recognise and be more empathetic, a little bit more empathetic to people.
Yep. And when you talk about, the last couple of years, you've had a really good handle on things.
Yep.
How have you got to that point? Have you been able to sort of recognise some of the things that are going on leading up to that?
Yep.
And triggers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, mate, to be honest, the reason I am able to handle it and everything is because I sought professional help. If I didn't have the psychologist that I have, and I still see him now, like it's been years down the track now, so I still see him and just touch base, and we talk about heaps of other things besides the anxiety, just life things. If I didn't get that professional help, then I'm pretty sure I would, might have done some damage or something bad to some, probably not myself, because I wasn't in that sort of dark place where I was depressed at all, but I was getting really aggressive and my anxiety triggered fear, which for me internalized as anger, came out as aggression. So yeah, if I was having an episode, you didn't want to be around me, sort of annoying me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just didn't want to be in that space.
Yeah, you didn't
Yeah.
want to be in that space if you were going to antagonize me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had them around, like I've had a few around kids and stuff when I was teaching.
Yep.
But and he's still agitated, but I'm not aggressive with it. But you didn't want to be. For instance, I spoke on episode 10 about, there was a case where there was a time where I was driving. It was around that period, and I was driving my car. The cab pulls up behind me, and I was going over a speed bump. I stopped because my car's quite low. He jammed his brakes on, sat on the horn. I was with my girl, and I'd just snapped and got out the car and was, looking for blood. And, that wasn't a way to behave. No one got injured. But, I sought help after that as well.
Yeah. But that's a great thing, though, that you were able to recognise that you should get help from it.
Well, to be honest, I probably didn't recognise that I needed help for a long time. It took a couple of years before I even thought something was wrong.
Yeah, okay.
It took a while to understand that I couldn't control it. And it took a couple of phone calls to a mate of mine to tell me what was happening and to tell me, mate, go see a doctor. It's as simple as go and see a doctor. I've had the same. And that was the key thing. He said, I've suffered the same thing. And, I did say, yeah, but you're quite emotional.
Not me.
Yeah, you're quite emotional, mate. I'm way harder than you.
Yeah.
And, but it ended up, he was right.
Yeah. And do you think that that's a big thing, like knowing that there's someone else out there, especially in like your circle, that is going through something similar?
Yeah.
Is it good to be able to relate in some way?
Yeah, I guess it was relatable. It was comforting, I guess. Yeah, knowing that someone that I knew in my circle had suffered the same thing. Because I don't know if I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, right? But when it's happening, you're in your own little world, and there's nothing else in the world. No one else could be affected like you are. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, why is this happening? That person over there could never have suffered this sort of symptoms.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it was comforting to know that someone else could recognise it.
Yeah,
that was something that helped me, and sort of triggered me to go get help as well.
Yeah,
like, all right, well, he's dealt with it. He's suffering from it. He's telling me to go seek help. I'll go see help.
Go see someone. No, that's really good. So was that a big step for you then to just
it was massive.
Be like, I've got this thing and I need to do something about it?
Yeah, it's massive. A fairly masculine dude, I guess, pretty confident. And it was a big thing for me to go and seek help.
Yeah.
My partner suffers from some issues as well, and she'd had ongoing stuff. It was about the same time as she was getting diagnosed with things, and I wasn't very accepting of her diagnosis and things. I was nah, man, it's just you need to toughen up. And then when I was suffering from it, and I actually got diagnosed and told what it was, I felt like a bit of a dick, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least now, like, you would have had a lot more educational sort of knowledge of it after recognising it, which would have been good for both of you, I guess.
Yeah. Well, now I have.
You both know that this is a thing.
Yep. Yeah. Now I've got a lot more knowledge around it. I don't ever claim to be a professional because I'm not in the space, but I can only share what I've experienced.
Yeah.
But as I said to you, the reason I've got a handle on it is because I went and sought professional help.
Yeah.
But the first thing is conversations like this.
Yeah.
If you can have a conversation like this with someone, it sort of opens up those channels of communication.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I was keen to have you on too, because, I've experienced things people in my immediate family have, friends, acquaintances, whatever. Like, I'm quite aware it's out there.
It's an epidemic in Australia.
100%. It's I think it's even the biggest killer of people between ages 15 and 40, something like that.
Oh, you're talking about depression and suicide?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think it should be that way.
No, it shouldn't be that
but
way.
it is what it is, and if at least we can talk about it. Once again, I'm no professional, but I still think that this is just like the 1% thing that you can do is just chat to people about it, because at least there's 3 of us in the room. Hopefully some more people tune into this and get a little bit out of it. At least it puts it in their head, and they're somewhat aware of it. So
Yeah, well, I would. Yeah, exactly. I would have never thought someone, as an outsider looking in, I would have never thought someone like me would get it. Would have anything to do with that, because I've always been of the positive mindset. A harden up. You just get on with it. You toughen up.
yeah.
Mind over matter sort of person.
And it can be a difficult thing too, because it is still good to be those things. Like, it is still good to be positive, confident, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, like, you can't just push everything down and bottle it up, can you?
Well, that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
That's essentially why it happened. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it was really well explained to me. An analogy was given the first time I went to see a psychologist. So he gave me the bucket principle, and I spoke about this on my episode as well. So, you have things in your life and you divide them into buckets. So, wealth can be a bucket, and, investment, all that sort of stuff you put in that bucket, your money, your budgeting, all that sort of thing. Your happiness can be a bucket. Sport can be a bucket, and then you've got stress, which is a bucket. Okay. And this bucket of stress for me was constantly filling up through the way I was brought up, through the way I dealt with emotions, and any worries I had. And this is probably what most people will find. Any worries that I had would go into this stress bucket, right? And they just keep topping up. And eventually this stress bucket starts to overflow, and that manifests itself through anxiety, through, and for me, the symptoms were a fast heart rate, dizziness, sweaty palms, feeling fearful, not understanding what was going on. So it was manifesting physically. That stress was overflowing the bucket. So he sort of said, you need to put holes in your bucket. You need to, and one of the best things, as you've spoken to and you and I've discussed, is physical fitness. Like having a release. Breathing was essential for me. Concentrating on breathing, not just breathing like everyone has to breathe to survive, but concentrating on breathing, meditating. They were essential to me, and really the starting steps to how I could manage my anxiety.
Yeah. Knowing what those things are for you, like, because everyone's different, everyone deals with things differently. I'm someone that loves just going to the gym for the reason that, headphones on, world. I am in my own sort of environment. I've always enjoyed sport throughout my life, so I try to play a lot of sport as well. It just sort of puts you in another place.
Yeah.
But like a daily thing for me is just some form of physical exercise every day.
Yep.
And I know that because I think back on those times where I haven't felt so great, and I know that there's probably other things that are a factor too, but I know that that's one big thing. If that's missing, nothing else seems to go in my favour. Yeah,
well, there's research around it, right? So, if you exercise, it releases endorphins, which make you feel better.
Yep.
If you don't, you don't get that hit of endorphins. You don't get that adrenaline, that sort of stuff, and you become lazy, and then that can lead to boredom, which can lead to, you alone with your thoughts, which leads to stress, which then manifests into mental health issues.
Yeah. And on that too, like, that's, the gym's just my thing, but I don't know if I'm sure that there's different things that people do. Even like, I know you love your surfing. Is that one of the things that sort of helps you?
Yeah, it was one of the things that helps me. It was one of the things also that when my anxiety affected me in the one place where I was always safe, which was surfing, that I really had to think about going to seek help and listening to heeding my mate's advice, and going to get professional help.
And is that one of the reasons, because you were doing that, you're like, well, this should be the only place I'm not feeling this? Yeah. There's something to miss.
Yeah, because I would start to avoid things. I think it was a symptom of the whatever I was doing. So, if I had one when I met you, this didn't happen, but if I had one when I met you to have lunch, I might not have lunch with you the next time.
Yep.
I might make it a brunch or something, see if that affected it.
Yep.
And if it didn't happen again, okay, well, cool, I can have brunch with Matty.
Matt's okay.
Yeah, he's all right for brunch, but no good for lunch.
This guy never wants to have sushi with me. I don't know what
But you know what I mean.
No, I get it. Yeah, you just got to...
It's that fight or flight response, and I was avoiding things, the environments where I was getting these anxious feelings. But then it started to cross over into stuff like my work, and it started to cross over into, the one thing I love physically doing, and the funnest I ever have is surfing. And it started to cross over into that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been there. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't control it. So then I heeded my mate's advice to go get professional help.
Yeah.
And it was. I really wish, not him, but I had have thought about doing that earlier, because I had it for quite a long time, undiagnosed. And if I had got to it, because for me it was pretty simple to get rid of. Not everyone's going to have it as easy, and not everyone's going to be as coachable, and not everyone's going to have the same process. But if I had done it earlier, I wouldn't have, I'd have a couple of years where I could have done without it. It's been quite a while now that I've had it treated, that I've been treated and had ongoing stuff for it. But, I don't take medication or anything. But But if I had have just thought about going to seek professional help, going to see my doctor, talk about it, then I would have been a couple of years ahead.
Yeah.
And that came from me not talking to anyone about it.
Yeah.
So, when you say, would I talk to you about it? No, I wouldn't have. But now I will.
Yeah.
And I will, because I hope it helps someone.
Yep.
Whether I know that person or not. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday, right? And he's getting social anxiety. And he's actually, he's been to see hypnotherapists. He's been to see psychologists, psychiatrists, this, that, and the other, and it's not working for him. And like I said to him, it's maybe change up the guys you're going to see. Like, don't settle for the first
approach.
First person, just try different things. And he hadn't done so much of and he just picked my brain for hours, because I was the first guy that he'd spoken to that has overcome it. So I spent a good few hours just talking to him and giving him hints and tips and stuff. So I'm saying it doesn't affect everyone the same, and the outcomes aren't always the same, and the tools aren't the same.
Yep.
But you learn to use what works for you. It's like the gym, right?
Yep.
10 reps, 5 sets might work for me and get bigger. Might not work for you.
Yep.
You might have to push heavier weight, or do less reps, or faster reps, or whatever in what you're trying to achieve. Same thing with tools for mental health. You got to find what works for you. And with this, in regards to him finding a good psychologist, or some, what he terms a good psychologist, I think you got to have someone that you can really trust and relate to, and go in there with an open mind, and lay it all out. Say, this is what's going on. Don't hold anything back. They're not going to tell anyone.
Yep.
They're non-judging, predominantly. They're not going to judge you. And that was one of the things that really held me back as well. The judgment actually, that's not correct. It didn't hold me back, but I think it holds a lot of people back. The judgment of someone.
Because if you go in there to talk to someone, what they can do for you is perhaps only as good as the information you give them as well. Because if you're not telling the full story, then they're going to probably recommend different things, aren't they?
That's right. That's right. So and again, same as the gym. You come to me or go to your trainer and say, I want to get massive upper body, but really you want to get bigger legs.
Yeah. It's a different thing. There's no cookie cutter approach. Do you think that, you sort of touched on this anyway, but telling these stories, do you think that's just the gateway for people to seek out that professional help and to take that journey? Because the more we sort of talk about it, it's just the 1%.
I think it is having these discussions or a discussion is the first step or the first process. You know, if you don't have these discussions, nothing's going to get better. You know, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's the first thing to have. Just talk to a mate.
Yeah.
You know, I always always say, go seek professional help. You know, I'm happy to tell you my experience and what I've gained and my knowledge, but I'm not a professional, man. It's not my field.
No.
You know, this might help you, but if you want the real stuff, you want to really nut down with how you can deal with it, go seek a professional.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And one that you can relate to.
Yep. Yeah. When you talk about things like we spoke before about like things like triggers. Did you have any certain triggers for yourself that you can now identify that you perhaps didn't in the past?
Yeah. That was really good. A really good exercise that I used to do was really write down what had happened. So let's say I had an anxiety attack wherever. So after either that night or straight after, I'd write down some things like, okay, today I experienced dizziness, but no heartbeat, you know, no faster heartbeat, or, you know, I had everything going on. But before that, I felt really tired. And before that, I was worried about money. And before that, I had a fight with my missus. And before that, you know, I just finished a 5-hour shift at work or whatever, you know, hadn't eaten all day, hadn't exercised. So, yeah, I was able to write down heaps of things, and eventually I was able to see the patterns that occurred that resulted in having an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And then through those patterns, I was able to recognise triggers. So, you know, what I experienced was when I was tired, they're more prevalent. When I was stressed, they're more prevalent. And when I was worried about things like a lack of direction in my life and financial hardships, they're the 4 biggest triggers for me.
Yeah. And it's just trying to keep those, put out those small fires, I guess, just try and keep those little, not that they're all little, but you know, they're things that build up rather than like, oh, I've got this one massive problem that is my life, just one at a time.
Let's say that happened, you know, 3 weeks running. If I could go back to the data and recognise that that's what was happening each time, I might be able to go the following, you know, the 4th week and say, I'm feeling a little bit tired. Oh, I need to get some rest.
Yep.
Or I'm feeling a little bit worried about my finances. Am I going to be able to pay my bills and shit? Okay, let's just quickly do my budget. I'm feeling way at ease at that. And I'm tired still. Okay, I'll get some sleep. And then it wouldn't result in an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
You know, I would prolong it. So from a weekly occurrence, it would become every 2 weeks. You know, and then I'd work really hard at those, seeking out those triggers. And as you said, putting out those little fires, and then it'd become a less and less occurrence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it rather than just like one big massive problem, because you won't be able to take those steps anyway if you're looking at it macro.
Yeah, well, it is a big problem, but then you can break it down into little steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd reduce the severity of it, essentially, and then reduce the occurrences.
Yeah. And so the
regularity of it.
Did they seem to be like a weekly thing for you?
Yeah, there was times where I would have them every couple of days.
Yeah.
And this was when I was undiagnosed, so I didn't know what it was. And the fear around not knowing what it was, because I was always pretty in touch with my body previous, fear about not knowing what it was would trigger it off more.
Yep.
Okay, and you know, I went and got a heap of tests, so I went and got CAT scans and things, because I had quite a few hits from when I was playing footy. And there was all that drama around, you know, brain injuries, head trauma, brain injuries and stuff. So, all right, I'm going to be fucked. I was a footballer. I had, you know, a fair few concussions when I was younger. Yeah, I'm fucked. I'm one of those guys. But then I went and got the CAT scan, and it came back all good. So you have to be realistic about these things and go and talk to my psychologist. And he said, well, you know, let's have a look at the data. The data suggests you're not fucked. You know, you don't have a brain injury.
Yeah.
So it must be something else.
Scratch this off the list of things.
Yeah. So it must be something else.
Yeah.
But the data does suggest, your patterns, that you're tired and that you're worrying about finances and that you haven't done any physical training for X amount of weeks, years at a time.
Yeah. And that's what I find myself is that biggest thing. Like if I look back, again, not everyone's thing's different, but I guess probably two things for me. Even I try and eat well, but even if I'm not eating that well, I know that the physical activity helps me because I look back at those times when I haven't felt the best, and it has been weeks. It can be days, but not so much days. It's more like weeks. If I miss at least a week or so, I know that I just need to get there, and I at least. Like there might be other things going on that are an issue, but I'm just like, you know what? I think I'll feel better after this. Yeah. I'll be at least in an environment to deal with those other whatever else is happening. I know personally too. One thing I've found out is like I live a pretty full life, as in I'm always busy. I work, I do another business on the side, then there's the gym, and then there's sport, and then there's whatever else I can fit in that time frame, study, whatnot.
Got to fit a girl in there somewhere.
Yeah, haven't managed to fit one of them in yet.
Look down there, single ladies.
Yeah, well, hopefully this doesn't air in about 3 years' time and I've got someone. But still haven't managed to fit that in. But again, I guess they just have to understand why I do the things I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're important things for me. And if someone was to come along, which I hope they do, I'd definitely make the room there. But at the same time, my life isn't get home at 4 o'clock, sit on the couch, watch crap TV till 8 o'clock. Mine's like,
pretty high paced and probably stressed.
Sorry?
Pretty high paced and probably stressed.
Yeah, but in doing all those things, like I have, because I do want to sort of fit the most into my life. I still have to figure out how I have to relax today. I just have to do nothing.
Yeah, okay.
And it can build up over a few weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But why I'm sort of mentioning this is that I'm just someone that likes to keep moving. I just like to keep going and build up steam and in a good way. I mean, build up like momentum, and that's where I feel best because you sort of spoke about direction. I know that if I can look back and know, last 3 months have been really good because I've been putting in these actions daily to get somewhere, and you look back with accomplishment, that makes you feel better to
tick off your little goals.
Exactly, and to keep going. So some people might look at that and just be like, oh no, I couldn't, I just want to do my 9-to-5 job and do nothing else. Yeah, which is cool because I don't care. Like if that's what they want to do, that's fine.
Right. But mate, that's ambition. You've got ambition, and nothing. You need nothing comes easy. So you're willing to put in the hard work and the sacrifice now, hopefully for the rewards later.
Exactly, and that's what fuels me. So. Yeah, I guess knowing yourself is really important too, and it can take some time to
get to know yourself.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I don't think you ever, that's the epitome of mastery, isn't it? Mastering yourself.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that many people achieve.
Not at all.
But not, it's not for lack of trying, and it's not a bad thing to try and do that.
Yeah, should never stop. I guess another thing that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on too. Obviously, we're male as well. We're both men, and it seems to affect men quite severely. Do you think that there's a reason that's the case? Is it because of that macho
persona,
persona and things like that? Do you think that plays a part?
Yeah, definitely. I think. I'm not sure that it affects women. I'm not sure that it affects men more than women. I think a lot more women are open about it.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of guys don't talk about it because there's an embarrassment, there's a stigma, and embarrassment around there. I was brought up never to cry, and if I did cry, I got beaten till I stopped crying. And I think a lot of people from my generation, and I'm not that old. I don't think I am. A lot of people from my generation were brought up that way. I know my father and that generation back that way, you would never talk about it. I think there's still a lot of that around. I think as a society in Australia, I think we're more accepting. There's the man hug movement. There's Beyond the Beers. Mike Campbell runs an event Beyond the Beers. There's Blokes Advice on Facebook.
In Movember and all those sorts of things.
Movember, Heavy Hitters. Brett Simpson, really top bloke, did one of my did an episode for my podcast.
I've listened to that one. Yeah,
amazing what he's been through and achieved. There's all these movements that not force but help you to have conversations and open up lines of communication in regards to mental health. They've all got some form of, some are with bipolar, some are with depression, some are anti-suicide. They've all got their own things. But I think it's becoming more accepted and I guess a little more recognised that it's not just me. It's probably old mate next to me at the bar as well if I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
And I think there's less, how, like my dad was an alcoholic, right? My real dad. But how they would go down the bar, the pub after work and just drink and stuff and talk about whatever. There's less of that now. So there's less of, I think some men are stranded as to what a man means, what being a man means, right? So there's less confidence in men, I think. There's less direction in men, and blokes struggle with that, which leads to them struggling with accepting that something's going on if they're having problems.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for sharing everything that you've shared so far. I've really appreciated it. It's good to get other people's opinions on these things, especially someone who's sort of, experienced, well, you have experienced that yourself, seen it in other people. An interesting conversation I had recently with a friend. He had someone going through some tough times and he's like, look, I can't really relate to exactly what this guy's going through. He's like, because I don't have it. I don't, but he just kept trying to make contact with him. So at least, even if he didn't pick up his phone calls, he at least saw someone was trying to get through. One interesting point that he raised with me is that there are lots of these movements that are very like, if you are in trouble, do X, Y, Z, or seek help. Do you think that it's very important to just educate everyone on a whole, even if they're not someone who is suffering? Do you think that that's quite important?
I think it can't hurt, right? But if you're not suffering, you don't really have an interest in it.
True.
You know what I mean? It doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
And I was the same way, a while ago, but pre me suffering from this stuff. If you and I were mates and you were having issues, mental health issues, not issues with someone down the street, because I help you out with someone down the street, right?
Yeah.
But if you were having like things you need to talk about, I wasn't the guy to talk to. I'd have mates come to me. I don't know, something's happened all through my life pretty much. People have come to me for advice. And back in the day, like, I'm having an issue with my missus, blah, 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 it's really affecting me. I'd be like, mate, and I'd straight up tell guys, man, I don't actually care. Like, why are you telling me this?
I don't care and I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I can't help you. Yeah. Why are you asking me, mate? And but that was so, and that leaves them embarrassed, and it leaves them, unhelped for starters. Now though, now that I've suffered from that, I can understand where they're coming from, and so if you're a person that is like I used to be, right, no empathy for that sort of stuff, and no time for it because I saw it as weakness. I think the best thing you can do if you want to be a good mate, right, is just to lend an ear. Lend an ear, just even if you don't care, as in their problem, you don't have to have an answer. It's one of the things, blokes are always jumping and wanting to fix stuff, right? But you don't have to have an answer for that person. You can just listen. Sometimes that's the world of difference to that person. And then refer them to professional help.
Yep. Yeah. So that's like the minimum thing, you know, that you think that perhaps people should take away and know if they're not particularly suffering themselves.
Yeah, not particularly suffering or particularly not interested.
Yeah.
You know, because my view was back then, I don't have time for this. This is your problem.
Yeah.
I've got my own set of problems.
Yep.
You know, that I need to focus on and sort my own shit out.
And that's still fair enough though. Because sometimes you do, in certain scenarios, you do have to be a bit selfish and be like, well, I could help you if I had the time and energy, but if I was to do this, I'd be suffering myself.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm way the other way now. I think if you don't have the time and energy to help your mate, then he's not a mate.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
He's, you know, you should go find another mate, right?
Yeah.
So any of my mates, and I only got a small circle, but any of them, and they were really helpful for me through a different period of my life. There's probably like 8 guys that would do anything for me, and I went through some stuff, and I sent them all a message one day. Like I was like, boys, this is the hardest year I've had in my life. Like, and I just want to say thanks for being there for me. You know, I could ring these guys anytime. I rang one of them at 3 a.m. one day, and he had a chat to me, like, you know, and he's like, "Do you want me to come over?" Like, no, it's okay. So I sent them all a message, and then I got one sending me a message back saying, "Oh mate, have you got sand in your vagina?"
Yeah, right.
But you know, so they're good mates in that regard. But some people don't have those friends. So my advice, if you're not suffering and if you're got a friend that is just to be in ear. You know, you don't have to get involved and ask the questions. You know, just listen.
Don't get caught up in having to have the answer. Just be like,
you don't have to have an answer, right? And you know, if someone came to me, one of my mates, and was really suffering, my answer would be just I'd listen, and then I'd give them what I've been through and how I've dealt with stuff. And then I'd say, you know, if it's a mental health issue I'm talking about, and then I'd say, you know, I think you need to go and talk to someone more professional than myself. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do believe that's probably the only way you can get through these sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And because they are the ones that they might not have all the answers, but they're probably more likely to have an answer or a strategy or something like that.
Yeah. And they're qualified and they live it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just talking from my experience, and this is one person, whereas this person is, you know, some of these guys have dealt with hundreds of people.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and there will be patterns there.
Yep.
There will be similarities, and there will be tools and that work for the majority.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And just to clarify what I said to open up, like if someone came to me with an issue like that, I'd never say I don't have the time. I just know that there's certain scenarios in life where, it's just you can't deal with it. But yeah, definitely in that scenario, just if it was a mental health thing or if you knew what it was about, lending an ear is, I think too, probably the best thing that you can do. Just start that conversation somehow. Yeah. And doing stuff like this is part of that. So.
Oh mate, I'm really thankful that you got me on. I think if someone hears it, you know, I'm not sure what your audience is, but
we'll find out.
But if someone hears it and it helps them to make a difference in someone's life, or helps them to make the first step to go seek help, then it's been beneficial. Yeah,
you're at least part of the solution.
Or you're at least part of the solution.
Okay,
because it's your show.
Well, just the 1% anyway.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
No worries, man.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening, wherever you're coming in from. And I'll put a link to Odell's podcast in there somewhere, wherever the platform is. So thanks guys for tuning into the second episode, and we'll see you guys later. Catch ya.